Smiling man, it is the coach, David Edelman. Yours truly, Mark Carmen, the Windy City Bulls podcast on a Monday. Yes, I am running this, at least mostly on my own, with a lot of help on the back end from my guy Richard. So, if there are any technical difficulties to this broadcast, I apologize. But, coach, we're sitting here on February the 7th. The deadline is Thursday. The Bulls are second place in the Eastern Conference. The entire team is hurt. And yet, I'm starting to actually feel like, you ready for this one, Coach?
I'm ready.
The Bulls could win the NBA championship this year. I think it's possible, Coach. What do you think of that statement to start here? I was at the game yesterday. I brought the niece, took my brother, sat in the 300 level, went old school, 315 row 9 last minute, coming back from a heartbreaking tennis loss. Let's go see the Bulls. Can we get some carpool action? Can we all meet at the United Center? That's what we did. Bulls didn't lead all day. Didn't have half their team, but yet battled the Sixers. DeMar DeRozan looking like Jordan in 87, minus the leaping ability. I think if you look at the landscape of what's going on in the NBA, the Bulls have a puncher's chance to do this. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it's an odd year in the NBA because right now I think there's probably 10 to 12 different fan bases that feel the same way you feel. The Cleveland Cavaliers woke up this morning thinking they might be one of those teams. So, yeah, I agree. They do have a puncher's chance to win it this year. There's so much to be said. Injuries are playing such a huge part in the season, which is pretty interesting. There hasn't been a lot of deep dives nationally on the amount of injuries this year, but yeah, I mean the Bulls are there. It's hard to get excited about the Bulls in this particular moment because you still have another month where most of their team isn't there.
So, who's your number one target, Coach? Who do you want him to get or not get? Do you want to just sit back and wait for everybody to get healthy?
I really haven't thought about it. You told me that you had 5 trades. You said you had 5 people that you were targeting today. So I was more waiting to hear what your 5 targets were. Then I don't really have a target on the back right now of a specific player because I don't know what they would want to give up at this stage of the game. Do you go all in and change the landscape of your entire team this year, or do you kind of build on the fringes and like what you have and build on the fringes right now?
See, Coach, the reason why I pay you the big money or fan side it pays you the money, is because you have the power takes. But if you're leaving it to me, as I
Yes, I'm leaving you. What are your 5 targets? I'll let you know
you
what I
want to hear
think
my
of the
5
targets.
targets?
I want to know
Okay.
your 5 targets.
All right. Well, first of all, can we salute Io DeSumo? Can we just talk about how amazing he's been? Can we for those of us who said draft Io, that would be yours truly. Can we all admit that he's even better than those of us who liked Io ever thought he would be in year one? That he perhaps has created some redundancy that you did not expect to have. Is that a fair take?
I'm not as sure about the redundancy, but absolutely he's better than what anybody would have thought he would be. We talked about that in the last podcast. There's no doubt he's a better player. No one had him more than a late round, first round pick. Nobody was talking about him as a lottery pick that was going to make an immediate impact. So he's been an immediate impact player and has played really well. But on the other end of it, too, the Bulls didn't really have a great chance to win against the 76ers yesterday, in large part because he's not good enough to be that impactful, if you understand what I'm saying there.
I think I do, but I'm just taking the leap of faith that look, you've got Io, you've got Zach, you've got DeMar, you've got Kobe White, you've got plenty of guard power, and as much as I want to give credit to Lonzo Ball for having a fantastic season, he is a luxury right now that you might be able to play with. So it's a bold take, Coach. It's bold, but I'm looking. You need a impact big, right? Impact big to take you to the promised land. Would you agree that that is their biggest need? As I'm about to line this up for you, would you agree with that?
So what do you mean by the impact big? I mean, are you talking about we're trying to get Joel Embiid, like a big like that,
No.
or are you just talking about a 6'8", 6'7", 6'9"? Like what is this
Here. Well,
impact big?
okay. Well, okay.
Because
Here's
you
my
have
first.
Vucevic who's playing a lot better.
I want an elite rebounder, defender in the middle who will cause problems, who will make coming down the lane against the Chicago Bulls in the playoffs an enormous problem. I've got here's trade number one of the
Okay.
Carm 5 trades. Okay, on the big end. Lonzo Ball to the Indiana Pacers for Miles Turner.
Okay.
Lonzo Ball for Miles Turner. Hello, by the way, our let me see if I think I know how to do this. We're in immediate thoughts to that. Lonzo Ball for Miles Turner. You just gave me an okay. I don't know what that means.
You change the entire landscape of your team right there because now you're Miles Turner and Nicholas Vucevic. So are you playing those two guys together? Are you playing them separate? So the whole team is different if you make that trade.
Yes, it would. So you're worried about the Bulls' chemistry instantly.
Absolutely, especially where does Vucevic fit with Miles Turner on the court at the same time? Obviously, the Pacers have been playing with Sabonis and Turner, and they've struggled. They haven't done very well. So why do you think Miles Turner and Vucevic are necessarily going to work great?
This is again why we pay you the big money. Hey, Golden Knowledge Podcast, good to see you, brother. Thanks for the comment here. Vucevic is not a real big, and I would agree with that. Why can't Miles Turner plays in the post? Vooch does his little pick and pop. Let's live the dream. And Io can continue to get 7 assists a night throwing the ball to Vooch, especially if he's shooting like he's been shooting the last 2-3 weeks. The guy's been on fire.
Well, but you got to look at what you're going to be defending against with Vucevic and Miles Turner on the court at the same time. I mean, the Pacers have really struggled defensively, and I think that you're now going to be chasing a player out there on the court. And now, where's the space for DeRozan? Right? Where's the space for DeRozan necessarily? He's a slasher, and you're cutting down what I think would be the space for him.
Okay, all right. How about you want a lower level play?
Go ahead.
Lower level play. Bring home Taj Gibson. Let's go reunite with Taji.
Okay.
Let's get DeMar and him, by the way, played together at SC. They were boys. And if you see them together now, according to DeMar, you would never know the time has expired. You make a deal with the New York Knicks. And who was I giving up? Tony Brown Jr., the money works. Bring Taj home. You got
all good with that trade because if you're healthy, Troy Brown is not sniffing the court with how well Io's playing now. He doesn't sniff the court. Taj Gibson could give them, if they feel like he's the right guy, that physical presence in there when they need that physical presence, some extra rebounding. And he's understood how to defend on the perimeter in his previous life.
Okay, I that trade's fine, and I'm excited about having Taj.
We got 3 more though. Where's my other 3 targets here?
I got them for you. What do you think? The Bulls have been slightly tied to Jakob Poeltl, big man for the Spurs. Makes a little under $9 million a year for 2 more seasons. They want a player and they want a pick. Jakob Poeltl, Kobe White, and a pick. I don't know if they would do that, but that's my proposal.
So
that's a no-brainer to me if the Spurs would make that move.
I think if you make the trade, what you're looking at from there is okay. We're going to increase our depth. I think Poeltl maybe be a better defensive player than Vucevic. Is he considered a better defensive player? We'll just say he is, okay, and gives you a little more depth there. And without a doubt, the next year you're trading either Vucevic or Poeltl. And so you may be able to restock your team because Vucevic would only have 1 year left. He might have a lot of takers the next year, and you decide to go with Poeltl over Vucevic because those two are not going to be on this team for a long period of time together.
But okay, you at least seem moderately intrigued by that one. Is that your number one choice?
That would be intriguing. Yes.
That's my number one intrigue right now. All right,
depending on what you're giving up, because I do think what you would do is you would be doing that for right now to see if, okay, can Poeltl help you play against an Embiid and those kinds of players and give you depth there because you don't have depth behind Vucevic right now. And
Well,
Pirtle is a decent player, so I think that you can do that for this year. But you can't play an 82-game season with Vucevic and Pirtle because one of those guys isn't going to play a lot. Otherwise, again, you're shifting the whole landscape. And I guarantee you, they would much rather play Patrick Williams and be the way the NBA is going. I just don't see that's the way the Bulls want to play.
okay, let's talk Patrick Williams, who supposedly is going to be healthy and back. Billy Donovan was talking yesterday, the day before, that look, we are optimistic that we'll have our whole team back for hopefully, say, the last 10 games of the year, try to build some chemistry. But in lieu of that, or just trying to win right now, because I don't think you can expect a championship player out of Patrick Williams in his second season after missing the entire year. Patrick Williams to the Sacramento Kings for Richaun Holmes.
I mean, that goes back to the Jeremy Grant conversation, which I think isn't Jeremy Grant a better player than Richaun Holmes?
Maybe, but Richaun Holmes is awful young, huge upside, explosive athlete, big guy in the paint. I haven't watched him enough to really know, but basically what I did, Coach, and I want props here but you look so uninterested.
I agree. No, I agree. I agree with Richaun Holmes. Here's the question with Patrick Williams. It depends on what I think of Patrick Williams.
Right?
I don't know. Like those guys know better than me. The guy played what 2 games this year?
5.
He played 5 games this year.
I think it's 5. I think
he played 5 games this year. So Richaun Holmes and you want Patrick Williams ultimately to be Richaun Holmes, but hope that he would be even better. So if I was Arturas Karnisovas or Billy Donovan, and I said, hey, Richaun Holmes is what we hope Patrick Williams will be in 2 years, then I might make that deal. If Billy Donovan and Arturas Karnisovas think that Patrick Williams is going to be an all-star level player, he's going to develop similar to like how Jimmy Butler developed in his time. No, because next year, Patrick Williams, you'd be kicking yourself and so mad at yourself. And Mark Harmon, you would throw yourself into Lake Michigan like that crazy person that was walking the ice if Patrick Williams next year is playing for Sacramento, averaging 21 points, 8 rebounds a game.
Yep. That's the risk of this whole thing. And I've got one more for you, by the way, on my 5 Carmen trades. Listen, I do think there is something to be said for you strike when the iron is hot. And I do also think that you have to look at this is going to be the best season that you're ever going to get from DeMar DeRozan. And there's no way that it's going up from here. He has been so unbelievably good. He's just literally carrying them yesterday against the 76ers. I thought I was watching.
No disagreement there, obviously.
So, and then you've got Zach. You're probably extending Zach, but okay, fine. Vooch this could be the best Vooch that you're going to get too, right?
Vooch, you got one more year. You got one more year.
One more year with Vooch. One more year. So maybe you're taking a 2-year swing at this thing with whatever deal you do right now. You don't have I get that you have a lot of young players, but your best player is at the end of his prime. I love him. I did not think that I was going to love DeMar DeRozan to this level at all. DeMar DeRozan is so incredibly cool. It's like DeMar DeJordan, the whole thing. This guy's he's just been phenomenal. And he doesn't, by the way, DeRozan doesn't want to make any trades. He thinks that we're getting everybody back. And if you're talking about adding a Patrick Williams, a Lonzo Ball, a Kobe White, who's been out, a Zach LaVine, a Derrick Jones Jr., an Alex Caruso.
That's a lot of good players.
That's a lot of damn-ass good players.
That's a lot of good players are missing. Well, that's why I don't think you should. I think that's where you can tend to overreact as to what they really have to provide at this trade deadline.
Right, which is why I think it's a fair. The conversations have to be fascinating right now over at the Advocate Center with Arturas and company.
Absolutely,
because we're closer than we thought we would be. There's no way they thought they'd be in this position. I'm sure they thought they'd be a playoff team logically, but at the top of the conference, now the conference is very bunched, but they are at the top of the conference in the middle of tons of injuries. Do you sit there and like, okay, hey, Brooklyn is dysfunctional right now. Nobody thought that the Nets would be. You've got Kyrie playing.
Talk about that, right? We want to talk about the Harden potential trade.
Yeah. So, and what my understanding on the Nets and James Harden is that James Harden is a complete and utter disaster over there.
Of course,
nobody wants to play with this guy. So you say, of course he is. Why do you say that?
Who hasn't been watching this guy for the last 4 years, how he's played and how he's been. There's a reason that guys get traded. They're difficult to deal with. You don't trade, like, you think the Bucks would ever trade Giannis? You don't deal guys that are easy to do, deal guys that are difficult to deal with. And you've got right now 3 stars on the Nets: Durant, Irving, and Harden. Great players that have all played on multiple teams. I mean, remember, the best players in the NBA generally don't play on multiple teams.
Right. And so the Nets are screwed. You have a chance to you listen, best team there's a lot of good teams in the East, but I agree with my guy Simon, long time NBA guy. Love Bird in his prime. Yo Marco, best DeMar, best Vooch, no dominant team in the league. This is the year to make a big move. I'm like trying to squeeze you into this, coach.
Right. What's the big move? So I don't like your big move so far. Your big move right now is Miles Turner.
Miles Turner would be you wouldn't be excited about a big physical Miles Turner coming in here.
No, I would.
Okay,
not
so
be
who would excite you? And I would love whoever's going to excite people.
Jeremy Grant would excite me. I just don't know what you're giving up to get Jeremy Grant, but that player would excite me. I would be excited to get an athletic 6'7" to 6'9" player that can give you another offensive punch, but plays good defense. I would love PJ Tucker right now. PJ Tucker would be a tremendous. I would love Jay Crowder. That's the reason those guys are there. So those are the guys you should be looking for. Is where's the Jay Crowder, PJ Tuckers of the world, that Draymond Greens of the world, because that's what they really need.
Listen. You can, if you dial up a PJ Tucker and or a Jay Crowder, I take those guys, but I don't know if that puts you over the hump. Simon again with don't think small, like all Chicago teams always do, coach. And now we're building a consensus to not think small. Golden Knowledge podcast jumping in here. I got another guy for you, but go ahead.
That's not a bad one. Christian Wood, he doesn't defend well though, and I really think the Bulls want someone that can go up against, a Giannis. I think that's what you're looking for. Is you're looking for a defensive player, because offensively, this team between Levine and first off, if you want DeRozan to keep playing the way DeRozan is, you have to continue with him in the role that he is. And with him in the role that he is, at times other offensive players are diminished. I love DeMar DeRozan as well, but he's got a very individualized game. He has a very individualized.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
You don't run a lot of stuff with DeMar DeRozan. You don't really run stuff. You kind of give him the ball at the top and just say, DeMar, go do your thing. And sometimes that's him creating for others, but a lot of times that's him shooting contested hard shots. That's why he's getting so much love from Stacey King and Kendall Gill and all those guys, because he hits shots that like very few players in the NBA can hit.
He's so crafty. He's so enjoyable. Apparently, we need to motivate Christian Wood. I got to be. What would it take to get Christian Wood, Coach? Let's go ESPN trade.
I don't think a ton. I mean, I think they would probably look for a pick from you. They might be looking for the Kobe White. They may want Javonte Green. They may want somebody like that. You're going to have to give up some package, but I don't think that Houston is all that tied to wanting Christian Wood, that they would give him up for not that much, but they're going to see what can they get from a lot of people, right? What's everybody going to throw at the end of the table?
What's your counter to Simon Crushy with a DeMar 5.1 assists a game? I mean, the dude's been facilitating out here, Coach.
Yeah. Listen, 5 assists a game when he has the ball. 75% of the time is not like, that's not like incredible. Like, yes, he's not a bad passer. I didn't call him a selfish player. Okay. There's a difference between being a selfish player and an individualized player. He's not a selfish player. Selfish player meaning that he won't pass. He's not even looking to pass. But his game is built on one-on-one individual play. That's how his game is built. He makes hard one-on-one individual shots. He doesn't come off screens, and you don't run offensive actions with him. You give him the ball, you set a ball screen for him, or you get out of his way and you let him go. And if he doesn't play that way, what's he doing? He's on the perimeter, and he's not a great shooter.
I'll give you one more big. I hear you. He does have the ball in his hands a ton, but listen, I have 0.0 complaints about DeMar's game.
I'm not complaining about him either. I'm just talking about what you fit around him right now can damage how he's playing. So what I'm telling Simon, and I love it, Simon, that you threw out the 5.1 assists, right? Throughout the stat, right? What I'm saying to him is you'll damage his game if you bring in a player who's looking for his own shot all the time.
The chemistry of DeMar and Io is so unbelievably adorable. And by the way, Io down the lane against the Pacers, throwing down dunks after
Awesome.
a terrible loss to Orlando. Io also passing up a lot of shots. Like, yeah, I could shoot this three, but maybe it's not the best choice. Let me get it to my guy Kobe White over here. Let me hit DeMar again. Let me find Vooch. He's balancing being aggressive with being a team guy too, which is not easy to do, especially for a rookie. And half the time, like, shoot that shot, Io. Let her fly, even though he's not an elite 3-point shooter, but he's been hitting them. So, keep letting him go. But the whole Io thing is just incredibly awesome. And I'm not like, Lonzo Ball is an interesting trade piece to me. I don't think they'll do this because of the figure that he makes. He's a $20 million player. So you're going to get a $20 million player back. Who can you go out and get? You don't like Miles Turner? Give me another $20 million guy out there.
Well, that's Jeremy Grant. I mean, that would be Lonzo Ball for Jeremy Grant, right?
And would you do that?
I would consider that one. I would definitely consider that one a little bit more. But again, I'm not sure they want to give up on the chemistry that they had with Lonzo here. And I think I think the fans, I get it. I get some fans are going to be like, hey, don't think small, go for the championship. And I think we kind of did in a lot of ways do that. And so I look at like the Pirtle trade that you said. It's not an unrealistic trade to really improve your depth behind Vucevic, because at times when the Bulls were fully healthy, who was the player that you felt you needed to play better? When the Bulls were fully healthy and they were killing it, who was the player that we were
Vooch.
So bringing in Pirtle to say, all right, maybe when this whole team is healthy, Vucevic is going to have those bad nights again, and Pirtle's the perfect complement to that, right? He's the perfect complement to taking out Vooch because he's not hitting shots and gives you a different element to your team. And so that's why I say that is the best of your trade that I think would be impactful at this stage of the game.
One more from Simon here, or at least right now. He just holy DeMar defender, love it. He's got Zach with him, sharing with another top 10 score, all true. Fourth in scoring, only 21st in usage. I'm not sure where he's pulling that stat, but I'm going to buy it. And again, coach, don't be sliding.
We're not saying. I'm not saying he doesn't dish the ball. Like I said, it's not about him being a selfish player. It's about how he wants to play, and he wants to be up high in usage. We already are making it harder for Zach. The stat he should be putting out there: what's Zach LaVine's usage? Is Zach LaVine's usage where it should be? Because there are games where, like, now I know Zach was hurt in the Toronto game that they lost. Zach took 12 shots in that game total.
Not enough.
Right. And so when DeRozan has it going a little bit, DeRozan shot 14 free throws in that game, took like 20 some shots, and that's a lot more shots than Zach. And I'm not criticizing DeRozan. I'm just telling you, he would not be that easy to play with by throwing another scorer who wants the ball like that.
So I do think it's very interesting on that dynamic between those two, because Zach has gone out of his way really down the stretch to, here you go, DeMar. It's very rare that Zach will take a shot like, why didn't you give that up? He'll come down and, okay, DeMar, you're our guy in the fourth quarter. Go get it, which I give Levine a ton of credit to, because he was the number one guy, and now we've got DeMar, and he's owning it that, okay, this dude's been unbelievable. He's been better than me down the stretch, so go ahead, and I'll just go stand over here, which is not an easy thing for an incredibly successful second-time All-Star to do. So he's done all of that. But so to your point on getting him more shots, and you made this point earlier on our audio cast, which is now going to the YouTube here, but you were like, hey, use him like Klay Thompson. Get shots, set screens, run them off, whatever, down screens, anything to get him wide open to just shoot the basketball, which I think is a great way to use Zach. And the step back three has just been nasty this year. This thing's
Zach has to shoot 7 because the team doesn't have a ton of 3-point shooting, especially with Ball out right now too. And Vucevic hasn't been a great 3-point shooter yet this year. You need Zach to shoot 7 to 10 threes a game. I mean, he needs to shoot a lot of threes a game.
Our guy Golden Knowledge also thrown in here. This is a great one too. Do we think that DeMar will progress in the playoffs, or does he shrink as in previous seasons? Well, he's not going to see LeBron, so that'll help him. I mean, that guy was he was great until the Cavaliers showed up and Toronto was death. So I don't think the Lakers are making the finals this year. Although, for the record, even sitting at the 9 seed right now, I'm not ruling them out, because somehow, some way, if LeBron gets back healthy and they still have Anthony Davis, nobody in the West is completely dominated in my mind. But at any rate, regardless, I think in the Eastern Conference this year, I think you're going to see the same level.
I think Simon, Golden Knowledge, man, that's a really good point. The game is different in the playoffs, and he's going to have a lot more pressure. Those one-on-one shots, he's always going to be guarded by a high-end defender when you get into the playoffs. And not only a high-end defender that's going to be engaged. And especially with the amount of minutes that DeMar's had a log this year because of all the injuries, yeah, that is a concern. 100%.
That's another interesting point, by the way. How much do you grind DeMar right now to win games, like 41 minutes yesterday, while guys are coming back? I would be
I promise you, is what they're talking about right now. That is what they're talking about right now. And that is some of what they're talking about with this trade deadline, of how they can hopefully enhance the team, with all these injuries, because it's going to be really hard to grind DeMar at the level he's being grinded and expect him, to put it together like that. Yeah. But I just think that the Bulls, look, Caruso, Ball, Jones, Levine, Williams. Hey, man, no one at the trade deadline is improving their team as much as the Bulls by adding those 5 players.
Right, but right. That's great.
Outside
and by the way,
one possibility, and that is if Brooklyn and the Sixers do make that trade, and Harden goes to the Sixers, which could rejuvenate Harden, gives the Sixers, who already have arguably the best player in the NBA this year, another player that would just be brutal to defend, and make the Sixers a potentially far better team. And then Brooklyn, I know you're gonna try to poo-poo this a little bit, but Ben Simmons was one of the top defenders in the NBA.
Great.
He's also a tremendous passer, and he's going to be playing with the 2 incredible scorers. They could be phenomenal.
First of all, let me hit up my guy Chris Raby on the injection of the mum power, which would be a huge thing for the Bulls if they could get the mum power. Who's a tremendous former radio engineer on this team, they could win it all. But to your point, if that trade could go on, that it would be the biggest win in Sixer history, because Harden's a free agent. You let it run this year. You say goodbye to him at the end of the season. If it works, great. you're in the finals. Maybe you win the whole damn thing. If not, he's out the door, and you rid yourself of $35 million a year Ben Simmons, who's never going to work in Philly. Joel Embiid wants to break him in half no matter what he's saying. So it would be an incredible it would be a great deal for Philly. And despite Harden's insanity and the terrible chemistry guy that he is.
3 months to deal with that is not a big, they'll be rejuvenated for 3 months because of his passing ability. Is, the one thing about Harden is while he's brutal, he is a heck of a passer, and he can, players like having the ball passed to them. So, he does know how to do that part of the game.
Simon leaving us with ball in their hands. Go get an athletic big. Don't let this guy talk you out of it. Coach, you're downgraded to this guy from Simon. Think big. He thinks you want to lose in the conference semis.
Yeah, well, they may lose in the conference semis regardless of what they do. You go big and you could stink. Last year they made trades where everyone thought they were going to be better when they traded for Vucevic. They traded for Tice. Everybody thought they would be better, right? They ended up being worse. So
wouldn't mind it.
And then look what happened then the year later, making the adjustments.
Yeah, but they didn't have DeMar cooking like the, I mean, the guy. If you had it, I'd love to have Daniel Tice back right now. I'd love to have Daniel Gafford back right now. Just you need a little bit of juice, just a little bit. But listen. I'll just say this. I'm excited. You look so just utterly.
I'm reading right now. Guys said, "What do you think about a Paul Reed homecoming?"
Hold on. Let me bring it in. What do we got here? What do you think about a Paul Reed homecoming? He's cheap and going back and forth in the G League. The 76ers would help Vooch and slow down Giannis.
Absolutely. Okay. The Bulls definitely need to keep finding. They are. I'm sure they are working their tails off to find a Paul Reed and I think Paul Reed could help the team in that regard, but he's not going to be the difference between if you're going to win the championship or not. He's not playing those big minutes in the NBA playoffs against Giannis and Durant and those guys.
Raby with who is the player that can move from the West to the East and create the biggest issue for the Bulls in the playoffs? Let's get in front of the curve here, Coach. Let's not let something happen. Interesting.
That's Rashawn Holmes, right? That's a Rashawn Holmes. Absolutely.
I'm not sure if Sacramento wants to trade him. I was just looking at teams that were out of the playoffs that had a big that we could possibly entice. That's how I went about it.
Covington is going to be out there. CJ McCollum can get traded from the Blazers. Could be a huge additional player for a team. Imagine the Sixers getting CJ McCollum and Harden.
Okay, right.
And all of a sudden there's CJ McCollum, Harden, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. Holy smokes, that's a pretty darn good team.
Well, and we saw yesterday, if you watched the Bulls game yesterday, Doc Rivers left Embiid off the court until it's a little under 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. The Bulls were up. The Bulls were down 17. They cut it to 8 or cut it to 6 rapidly. He brings in Embiid, and the Bulls could not handle him. And now it is Joel Embiid, top whatever you want to call him, 7 player in the league, top 5, wherever you want to put him. But top they couldn't
3,
handle him.
3.
You want to put him
3.
I don't love Embiid.
Absolutely. 3.
You think 3?
Yeah.
Come on.
Giannis, Embiid.
Yeah, LeBron, KD. There's 3. He's not 3.
Giannis, Embiid, KD. Those are top
Chris
3.
Paul.
Steph Curry.
LeBron. That's now my 5. Okay.
Embiid's better than them, though. Embiid.
Oh, come on.
I mean, you got Luka, you got Trae Young, you got a bunch of great players.
I'll give you Luka and Trae Young. I'm not giving you any of the first 5 you named.
But I'm Embiid, to me, he's top 3 right
now. Okay. I mean, I don't. Joel Embiid looks like it pains him to move most of the time. I'm not a huge.
The Sixers
Embiid.
are 32-21, correct?
Yeah. Okay.
He's carrying them.
I'm not
carrying them.
I said top 10. I said top 10. Who's underrated on the Sixers? I think is Seth Curry. He gets overshadowed by his brother, rightfully so. But that dude is crafty.
Yeah, he's a really good player.
I was impressed. What Raby's asking Nurkic, do you put him in there? or I'm assuming we're talking about as a trade possibility.
Yeah, again, Nurkic is. I don't know what you're giving up for Nurkic, but if you wanted to say that, that's similar to Pirtle. I mean, that's basically the same situation. All right, we're going to increase our depth for this playoff run with Vucevic and Nurkic, and we'll see which one of them's the guy to play. But you're trading Nurkic, then you're either trading Nurkic or Vucevic the next year. I mean, that's not both those guys will not be on your roster the next year. And so that's my point. Same thing with Pirtle. If they trade for Pirtle, they use him to finish up this year, and then they flip either him or Vucevic for the next year.
The guys that are out there as we wrap up, and appreciate everybody getting in here. This is a fun
Yeah, we
Bulls
still got to talk
combo.
about the 5 Bulls' worst coaches.
Oh, okay, I think that's going to be our next one. But here, Paul Millsap, the Bulls are hoping that he could be a buyout candidate. Paul Millsap is a tremendous leader. I'd love to have him. And the Bulls have been tied a lot to Dennis Schroeder, who played for Billy Donovan with OKC, had a huge offer that he turned down with Boston for a year. So you go get Schroeder, you flip White for whatever piece you can get, and you roll that way. That to me makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think that's I said Schroeder would be a 1 year. Somebody brought that up to me yesterday. Schroeder would be fine as a 1 year guy. That's you're concerned about Lonzo's health and how he comes back, and you're trying to build him.
Okay. We were going to do top 5 worst coaches of all time, but can we save that one for next week, Coach? Because I'll be honest, I have not done my full research on what order I want to put Vinny Del Negro, Tim Floyd, our guy, the great Jim Boylan. I don't want to put Bill Cartwright on that list, but he might have to be on that list. Although I think I'll be able to go back in time and find a couple others that won't. Let's see here. This is an interesting one. I like where you're going here, Brian Williams, that Vooch won't finish his contract in Chicago. That's very interesting to me.
I don't disagree with him. I think that's
neither do I.
That's why I'm saying I could see the Bulls making a deal for a player like Pirtle and saying, okay, we can now flip Vucevic the next year, and we got both those guys for this playoff run. One of the reasons why I don't see Miles Turner, and where I think people might be a little off on what they think they're going to do. There's no doubt about the big situation. There's no doubt the way the Bulls want to play. I mean, they traded Gafford. They traded Wendell Carter. Like, they traded those guys. So they want to be a perimeter-based team. They want to play. You look at like the Nuggets with Jokic and his versatility as a guy to play through where they come from. I don't think that Arturis wants to just throw some big dude here because everyone's like, the Bulls need a big man. I just don't think that's what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay. And that would probably
draft
take
Kofi. All right, there we go. Get Kofi in here.
Yeah. Hey, Kofi put up what 37 the other night.
I'm all good.
If this was 1985, Kofi's a top 10 pick all day long.
We become the Fighting Illini Bulls. Malcolm Hill, Io DeSumo, Kofi Coburn. Do we bring Darren Williams out of the Big 3 tournament and bring him back?
Hey, he had a great career. There would be nothing wrong with that if we could get him in his prime. One of my guys who always texts me ILL, and I don't root for Illinois. I'm graduated from Iowa, and I'm very tied into Northwestern for a long time working with WGN. But I've been writing back instead of my INIs, I've been giving the AYO, baby. Io is turning college basketball fans in this state into NBA fans. That is legit happening.
Agreed.
And the Bulls have like a little collegiate feel going on here. But the whole point here is like they literally could do it this year. They have an outside shot at it. This could be such a fun playoff run, which we'll do a ton of DeWindy cities on it. So I'm excited about it. But this is listen. The deadline is Thursday. I expect them to do something to tweak the roster. I don't think it'll be any of the major, Jakob Poeltl level moves that we're throwing out here that they've been lightly tied to. But I do think they'll do something.
If there's one thing that really sucks about this whole thing is the East has been terrible. And as soon as the Bulls got good, the East is totally flipped with the West. Like you used to look at the West and man, it was hard just to get the 8th seed in the West, right? And now the 8th seed in the West is like under 500, and you're looking at like the Knicks, who were the 4th seed in the East last year. They're not even in the playoff picture right now. You got a team like the Hawks, who you could see in the first round. And if a fully healthy Hawks team could be really dangerous in the first round. And now with what Cleveland, I don't think anyone anticipated Cleveland really being a threat.
My guy,
Karis LeVert. So now the East is 6 teams that are legitimate, with teams like the Hawks and the Raptors and the Celtics who have talent and Charlotte filling out the 7 to 10 spots right now. It's crazy.
Cavs getting Karis LeVert from Indiana for Ricky Rubio, a first-round draft pick, 2 second-round picks. That is aggressive, are we in agreement? That's a very good trade for Cleveland. Golden knowledge,
Tremendous.
By the way. Hey, we're going to be able to bring, as I learn how to do this a little bit better, we can bring you on, ask questions, make you even more than just the text thing. This is going to be an interactive podcast of Bulls.
Oh man, I have a guy
Chicago
who's been
fan.
begging to come on this show. Mitch Ratnow has been begging to come
good.
on our podcast.
Hey, this is the fan forum, baby. With you're the GM coach, and we're gonna get you a light so you can look like you're not in the GM class. But I kind of like this. It's like old school Jerry Krause over there. Like you're the sleuth making moves in there.
I want to stay in the dark. Yeah, keep me in the dark. So I look suspicious.
And my guy Sean Daly is just really upsetting the chat right now, pointing out that Embiid is 10-0 against the Bulls, which is irritating. And then even worse than that, if I scroll back, he's got to say this is a straight troll. But for anybody who thinks such a thing, you just should turn in your basketball resume, knowledge, card carrying. It's okay. I mean, I understand.
I'm sure there's a show that's on 2 hours later than us in LA. You guys can watch that show. All right. You don't need a
no. Don't LeBron
James. We don't want the LeBron Jamesites here, do we?
No, we do. We
want
everybody
the LeBron Jamesites.
We are the infancy. We need everybody and anyone who will listen.
So then we got to bring them on to ridicule them.
That's fine. That's fine. We're all in this together. This is
so if you're a LeBron James, come on our show so we can ridicule you.
Let me give you one name, by the way, Coach, that I didn't throw out. Udoka Azubuike. He's the 3rd string center for the Utah Jazz.
No.
No. Why not?
No.
Big.
No.
He's just a big dude.
I watched him the other day with Utah. That is a guy just filling up space. That's
what we need.
Go get Mike Smrek if you want. Like we could go get, we can go get Granville Waiters. What do you want? The Granville Waiters of our time?
Have we talked about Mike Smrek? Is that why you just brought that up?
Of course we did. We brought him up. We brought up the beautiful old Bulls centers of the day.
Okay, so Mike Smrek, for those who don't know, played on the Bulls team in 1985 and 86. He actually, I think, went on and won a championship with the Lakers. Mike Smrek wore number 52. One of the first autographs that I ever got at Old Chicago Stadium. On the ticket stub, Mike Smrek signed it. Mike Smrek, good friend of Billy McKinney, who does Northwestern color commentary. Billy McKinney, the greatest Wildcat of all time, played in the league for about 10 years. Mike Smrek, we might have a connection to get him on this podcast. I don't know if that excites anyone other than me and maybe you, but I'm very excited about Mike Smrek.
I would love for Mike Smrek to come out here, and I would tell him, listen, I think you're better than Azubuike.
He's not better than Azubuike.
Come on. If that'll help him come on.
Mike Smrek would disagree. Azubuike is better than Smrek. That's a great way to end this cast. I used to have an argument with a dude who used to work at Fansided by the great name of Jake Valerius, who told me that who was Bismack Biyombo. Thank you, Josh Hill. Bismack Biyombo. He was like, if Bill Russell played now, he wouldn't be as good as Bismack Biyombo. And that's what we had a fight in the office. Bismack Biyombo, Mike Smrek, go Bulls. Hey, the Windy City podcast every Monday at 4. We'll do a ton of Bears. We'll do a ton of baseball. We'll have extra stuff going on during the week. So hit that subscribe button. You'll know when we're on. But every Monday at 4, we'll be doing a show, and the Bulls the biggest story right now with the deadline coming up. And hey, second in the East, baby. Let's roll.
I want to say one thing.
Yeah.
Last year, remember, I told you before the offseason hit that the Bulls would make some crazy move or they would bring in something. I brought up like CJ McCollum, if you remember, and you're like, really? You think? And it was DeMar DeRozan instead of McCollum. The Bulls made their big move last year. They're not going to make it at the trade deadline this year.
There's a reason you're on this podcast in your dark room with your coach.
My everything about right. Let's bang out
play out. You have nailed. If you go back in time and listen, not that anyone's gonna do that. You've nailed a ton of stuff. So you're spot on, David Ailman. Good stuff, brother. So hey, let's see if they get the Suns tonight. It sounds like Zach's, at least what I read today, was that he's going to play. So hey, that would help. But don't get hurt, Zach. Long season. Don't need you tonight against the Suns on a back-to-back just because you feel guilty that DeMar's out there. I'd be fine with DeMar not playing if he's burnt. But let's go old school. You can play a back-to-back. Big week. I'm going to be out there Friday and Saturday, Minnesota, and I think it's OKC Saturday night. I want to say.
Yeah, I got OKC Saturday night.
Yeah. All right, Coach. Thank you, everybody. Brian,
thank you, guys.
And Sean, and my guy Golden Knowledge. I'll hit you up on the Facebook. I see you, my friend. Maybe we can get something going here. Simon and the rest of the crew here. Chris Raby, you the man. Appreciate everybody. And we'll see you next time.
Let's go, AK. Get it done, AK.
Let's go, AK. Big week. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching DeWindy. Hit that subscribe button.